We just got some new information about Assetto Corsa EVO, and it just keeps getting better and better. I've always said the original Assetto Corsa game has been my favorite racing game of all time. Literally the best racing game. But I think after hearing more and more about Assetto Corsa EVO, it might be able to take its crown. Over the weekend was the Sim Racing Expo, and the CEO of Kunos, the company that makes Assetto Corsa EVO, sat down and spoke more about the game, and what he said was awesome. And today, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about Assetto Corsa EVO. What I found really interesting, though, is how the CEO took a look at what was going on in Assetto Corsa 1 and how everybody was playing the game kind of in their own unique way, and took all of that and applied it to Assetto Corsa EVO in 3 different ways. Number 1, they want Assetto Corsa EVO to be the ultimate esport racing game. Unfortunately, they didn't go into too much detail how exactly they're going to go about this, so you kind of need to read between the lines, but they did say they want it to be a fair platform for these big esports tournaments. So you've got to assume they're going to implement some level of anti-cheat into the game. Number 2, they also want Assetto Corsa EVO to be a hardcore racing simulator, a game that people can jump into to either get better at real-life racing and practice for upcoming real-life races, or go in and compete in multiplayer races online in Assetto Corsa EVO against other members of the community in competitive hardcore races. And number 3, and probably the most interesting one of all, was trying to appease the casual car fan. I found it really interesting. The CEO kept bringing up driving for the simple pleasure of driving, and that's something I love. He said specifically he wants to focus on car culture, car customization, and building a car collection inside of Assetto Corsa EVO, which sounds really cool. Don't think for a second, though, Assetto Corsa EVO is going to be a simcade game or an arcade racing game. Absolutely not. At the end of the day, Assetto Corsa EVO is a proper hardcore racing simulator. And the CEO again said something pretty interesting here. He actually said the more realistic they make the game, with more realistic tire physics and car physics and like suspension physics and all of that sort of stuff, the game actually becomes easier to play, because as it gets more realistic, it becomes more instinctive and more intuitive if you've ever driven a real-life car before. At the end of the day, Assetto Corsa EVO's goal is still to go out and make the most accurate racing simulator they can, but at the same time, bringing in people who may want to explore the game in other ways, and I absolutely love that. And some of the details that dropped over the weekend were awesome, so let's dig into that. In the trailer, we all spotted that they added rain into Assetto Corsa EVO, but the developers spoke about it a little bit more in detail over the weekend, and one of the ways it works is by changing the weather dynamically as you play and as you drive. The developers implemented dynamic weather and dynamic tracks into the game and a gravity-based weather system, which is just super cool. So say, for example, you're driving around Brands Hatch. You know when you've got that start-finish straight, you've got the right-hand corner that drops all the way down the hill? Then you go up the hill and you've got a right-hand hairpin. The way the gravity weather system works is the rain will fall on the circuit and then it will run down from the top of either of those hills and accumulate in the U at the bottom of the circuit. And it will be doing this constantly. The weather is not scripted to go one way or another. It just falls onto the circuit and then it just follows the path of the circuit and path of least resistance, like rain would in real life. It's gonna force you to change your racing line, and as you drive around, you'll start to build a dry line onto the circuit. And all things considered, it looks really cool. One of the big pieces of news that was dropped over the weekend is how Assetto Corsa EVO is actually kind of changing the game a little bit. Let me explain. You know how in the original Assetto Corsa, everybody basically just jumped into a car, chose a circuit, and drove around, did a race, did hot lapping sessions, whatever it might be? None of that's changing. That's still in the game. But the developers are focusing on another mode for Assetto Corsa EVO in addition to that. They are adding a true car career mode, an RPG for car fans is what they called it. They said when you jump into the career mode for the first time, you get given a couple of credits to go and buy your first car. You then go and do races with that car to accumulate more credits, which then you can go and spend on other cars to add to your collection, or to just buy other race cars that you want to go and race in the career mode. And yes, they have already confirmed that there are no microtransactions coming to the career mode. None whatsoever. But that isn't all, because the developers spoke about both car customization and character customization, and this is where things get pretty interesting, honestly. So the CEO of Kunos did confirm that car customization won't be a thing right when the game comes out in January. It's going to be in early access then. We're going to need to wait a little bit to get car customization into the game. But the way car customization is going to work is you're going to be able to upgrade your car to increase the horsepower, get different wheels for it, change rear wings, and so on. Again, it was super interesting to listen to the CEO talk, because on one hand, he was talking about like the hardcore sim racing audience who will go in, want to customize their car for sheer performance, and might want to swap a rear wing on to get more downforce from their car, but it might hurt their top speed, for example. While at the same time, just having your car look a bit different might be cool to some members of the audience. It's really, really interesting to kind of watch them balance the hardcore sim racing players and like those casual players who both, at the end of the day, just like cars, but like them for different reasons. And Assetto Corsa EVO is trying to balance those perfectly. And to be honest, it sounds pretty cool if you ask me. They did also confirm that character customization is going to be in Assetto Corsa EVO. One of their big focuses for this game was both obviously the track racing, but also for the first time ever adding free roam into the game. And they wanted to make those free roam sessions feel quite special and different to the racing stuff. So to complement that, they added in character customization. When you're going into a race, you're going to be helmeted up, fire suit on, racing boots on. But when you're driving around in free roam, you might just want a hoodie and some driving gloves on and a hat and some glasses, for example. They have full avatar customization in this game, plus the customization of racing suits and clothing, which sounds, again, very, very cool. I think you can see what I mean when I say Assetto Corsa EVO might very well take that crown from Assetto Corsa 1 as my new favorite racing game of all time. On one hand, it offers me the ability to go in and practice for my real life races and get used to a new car, a new circuit, whatever it might be, or go in free roam and drive around the outskirts of the Nürburgring and experiment with car upgrades and customization and character customization just for the fun of it. It's very, very cool, but that's not all we have to talk about. The developers also spoke a little bit about the early access period. So when the game comes out on January 16th of 2025, Assetto Corsa EVO will be in early access, and it's a true early access period. The developers are working towards an end goal and an end product in mind, and until they get there, the game will not be finished officially. They did confirm when the game comes out in January, it will have approximately 20 cars at launch and 5 tracks at launch. But as time goes on and as that early access period goes on, the car list will grow, the track list will grow. The developers also spoke a little bit about modding in Assetto Corsa EVO. Some stuff is the same as it used to be, and some stuff is a little bit different, so let me explain. Unfortunately, the developers didn't go into too much detail for how exactly it's going to work, probably for legal reasons. Assetto Corsa has always had like a modding legal problem. Let's just say you go out and make a Ford Mustang mod and you upload it and people download it and start using it. Technically, that's illegal, and you're not allowed to do that. So the developers have to be very picky and choosy when it comes to the words that they're using when they're describing modding. So they might tell you one thing legally, but on the other hand, things might work a little differently. So I'm going to tell you what they said, but just know it might be the other thing. Cool? Cool. They basically went about saying they're building a mod workshop. If you ever played like Starfield before or Fallout before, how there's a mod workshop and you can go and buy or download official mods from like a mod workshop in-game. That's essentially the way they see modding in Assetto Corsa EVO. One thing they did say is that they won't truly allow modding in Assetto Corsa EVO until the early access period is over. The exact same way that happened for Assetto Corsa 1. They released all of the modding tools as soon as like the game was out of early access. It's going to work exactly the same way in Assetto Corsa EVO. When that will be, we don't know just yet. They did say Assetto Corsa mods will work in Assetto Corsa EVO, but they said Assetto Corsa mods will not work in Assetto Corsa EVO without going through a vetting process first. I think you can see what I mean, how the developers are a little bit paranoid and probably a bit worried about the whole modding thing because it was such a big issue in Assetto Corsa 1, like a legal issue. So we're gonna have to wait and see how things turn out for Assetto Corsa EVO, but that's what it sounds like right now. All this to say, though, it sounds incredible, and I cannot wait to see what the developers are cooking up. I haven't tried the game out for myself just yet, but I cannot wait to jump on and give it a go. I love what these developers are doing. I love how they're balancing hardcore sim racing with casual fun driving. It might be the greatest racing game of all time. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Have a great day. Goodbye now. See you tomorrow.